Hi, everybody, and welcome to graphing. This is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Now, just like a number line, if this is 0, everything to the right is positive. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Everything to the left is negative. -1, -2, and so on. Now we add another dimension, a y-axis. And when we go up, positive. And when we go down, it's negative. This here has positive x and positive y, and it's called quadrant 1. That we always write x comma y as an ordered pair. It's called an ordered pair because it has an order. X always comes first, y always comes second. And it's a pair because there's two, obviously. If I wanted to put a point at 1, 2, I would go x, here's x is equal to 1, and here's y is equal to 2, and where they meet is the point 1, 2. And that's what we're looking always to graph. If I'm over to the left here in this quadrant, x is negative. And the y is still positive because it's going above this 0 point. And this is called quadrant 2. And we use Roman numerals. Here, both x and y are negative because we're to the left of the 0 point on the x and we're down from the 0 point on the y. This is called quadrant 3. And here we have the x is positive and the y is negative, and this is called quadrant 4. If I wanted to plot a point like -2, -3, I would go -2 in this direction and then -3. 1, 2, 3. My point would actually be right there, -2, -3. Let's look at what we have for a question. The question is, where is Boston as an ordered pair? X always comes first, and the horizontal line is always x, vertical line is always y. I would put in as an ordered pair, parentheses, x is at 2, and y is at 0. I can't really plot on here, but what I can do is I can point to it. I would go here, and I go 1, x is 4, so I'd go to the x is 4, and then I go up from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right there would be the point that I would put a dot on. Now, sometimes I do know people get confused about this. Find an ordered pair x comma y that is the solution to the equation y equals 0. If I have x plus 4y equals 36, and y equals 0, I plug this in for y. I get x plus 4 times 0 equals 36. Obviously, that's 0, so we have x equals 36. Now, what does that mean? My ordered pair would be x equals 36, y equals 0. And that's really all there is to that. There's two different forms for a line. There's y equals mx plus b, where m is equal to the slope. And let's just talk about the slope for just a minute. I usually use slope like a mountain, and we're going to go skiing down this mountain. Here we have a slope. I go to the same height, but my x value is bigger, and I ski down this. Which one would I want to ski down if I was not very good at skiing? One to the right, because we can see that this has a smaller slope. And we can see that this has a larger slope. So how do we measure slope? We measure slope by what we call, it's easy to remember as rise over run. Rise is always in the y direction, isn't it? So we call this the change in y. And run, well, we don't run up, we run across. This is the change in x. Now, let's put some numbers here, because in math, we really do need some numbers to be able to understand what's happening. Obviously, they're both the same height. So let's say the height of this is 4. Then let's say this is also 4. We're going to say this may be 3 times as big. Okay, so I'll say 12. And now I can actually talk about what slope means as far as a number goes. This one here, we could say the slope is equal to, well, it's going up 4 and it's going across 4. We would have a slope of 1. And for this one, we would have m equals 4 over 12, which is equal to 1/3. This triangle has a smaller slope than this triangle, which is what we said. Like, if we're beginners, we don't want to go down the big slope, right? We want to go down the smaller one. This one's 1, this one's 1/3. The one on the left is 3 times as big as the one on the right. And also, one more thing I want to say about slope. We always read things from left to right. This has a positive slope because I'm going up. This would have a negative slope because I'm coming down. If I read from left to right, you can see that that's the only way it makes sense. That's really helpful. If you have a negative slope and your line is going up, you can tell right away you made a mistake. Then we have the B. B means the y-intercept. The y-intercept, where touches the y-axis. I have y equals 3/4 x plus 0. Because if everything is y equals mx plus b, then b must be 0. And here's my m. It's the number in front of the x. Now, easiest way to graph this. My y-intercept is 0. This is y, this is x. So this is where my graph needs to touch the y-axis because it's 0. And then if I know that my slope is 3/4, which is the rise over the run, that means I'm going up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see? I went up 3 and I went to the right 4 because up is positive and right is positive. Because a negative over a negative is a positive. I could also go down 3 and to the left 4. Because -3 over -4 is still equal to 3/4. Both of those will work. You don't need both, but they'll both work. And then all I need to do is connect my dots. And that is the graph of the line, which is at my 0, 0 point. Up 1, 2, 3, and to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice also, remember I said you could go down 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. To the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice there's also a point there. I wouldn't transform it into negatives, but I just wanted to say it's the same. Here we have y equals -3x minus 1. My slope here is what?
-3x.
Not x, just -3. This is the slope. And what's my y-intercept?
-1.
I'm just going to
Yes.
graph it over here because I can graph it without writing it out. And if you don't understand, just let me know. My y-intercept is -1, which means now my y-intercept is right there, isn't it? And my slope is -3. Now there's two ways I could do it. I could say -3 over +1 or 3 over -1. These are both negative, aren't they? And they're both 3. I'll do the first one. I'm going to go down 3 and to the right 1. Or I could go up 3 and to the left 1. You see that both of those values are on that line.
So we start from the 0 point on the line?
You can't start from the 0 point because the y-intercept is -1.
Okay, so we start from -1.
You have this point, x equals 0, y equals -1. That's the y-intercept. Okay, that's a good starting place. I can use it. I can use this. We'll use this graph. So we have y equals -4/3 x minus 3. Now I would start with my y-intercept, but tell me what you want to start with.
I will start with -4.
X equals or y equals?
X equal.
Okay. X equals -4?
Yes.
Make it -3 just to make the math a little easier, if that's okay with you. If we do -4, it's going to be a fraction. It's going to be real hard for me to graph it. But if I do -3, it won't. -3/4 times -3 minus 3. 3 cancels with the 3, and then I have really -1. -4 times -1 is +4, minus 3 is 1. I now have an ordered pair -3, 1. We have x equals -3, y equals +1. We could put another point, but then we have to solve another equation. Whereas if I just say my slope is equal to -4/3, then I'm going down 4 and to the right 3. Remember I said when you go up, it's positive, and when you go down, it's negative? Well, it's going down. I feel pretty good about this. Check answer. No problem. Now, you can do that anytime you want, but the easiest point to graph is x equals 0, y equals -3. Because when x equals 0, I don't have to solve things. That's why if I can, I use my y-intercept.